Hello, my friends. It's Dr. Gazelle here with your weekly dose of mindfulness and resilience. And what I want to talk about today is the two arrows of pain and suffering. Two arrows of pain and suffering. A surefire way to think about suffering in your life, and frankly, a way that you can reduce it fairly dramatically. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Mel Gazelle. I, for most of my career, was a hospice physician taking care of terminally ill patients and their loved ones. About a decade ago, I pivoted and actually went into training, and became an executive coach, a career and leadership coach for physicians and physician leaders. And along the way, I've deepened my own mindfulness practice and become a mindfulness meditation teacher. And it gives me great pleasure to share things like I'm going to do today. So, you may have heard this expression that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And it's an interesting phrase if you think about it, that pain is inevitable. And what I understand that to mean is that pain is part of the human condition, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or any other type of pain. We all experience it. In other words, we all experience difficulties, right? We all experience challenges, small and large, in one domain or another. Illnesses, accidents, problems with our kids, with other loved ones, you name it. It's simply part of what we humans experience on this journey. But suffering is kind of a different matter. And so, this expression that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, has to do with this concept of the two arrows of pain and suffering. So, let's look at this. The first arrow is whatever the painful event is, the difficulty. COVID, another illness, an accident of one sort or another. Um, a child doing poorly in school, something that could be painful. I fell last year and had a concussion. I'm going to call that the first arrow. The second arrow, however, is where our mind takes us in addition to the pain of that first arrow. In other words, I had some low back pain. And it wasn't, a 10 out of 10. It was maybe a 5 out of 10. I probably pulled a muscle. Let's call that the first arrow. But guess what? My mind did with this. My mind went to, oh no, this is going to be bad. I'm going to be in even more pain. What if I can't get out of bed? What if I can't do my work? Who's going to walk the dog? How am I going to manage? Oh no, what if this is something more serious? What if it's something really bad that's just starting now? So you can kind of see my shoulders raising and the tension because of these arrows that my mind is going to and pointing one after another at myself. Those are the second arrows that increase our pain and suffering. In other words, it was just a little back pain. It really wasn't anything bad. It happens. We can strain muscles. Life goes on. But my mind just really went to town with it, as you can hear. Thought upon thought, story upon story, calamity upon calamity. I think it's the Mark Twain saying, that these miserable things have happened in my life. I've been through many miserable things, but most of them never happened. That's what we're talking about, the suffering that the human mind can really go creating. And as I'm talking about this, you may be thinking of examples in your own life of difficulties that you've had. Something goes wrong, can't find the keys, you have a minor accident, something happens with one of your kids, maybe they don't call on time when they've been out, and your mind starts going to all these scenarios, worst case, and maybe somewhere along the way. So that's what this means, that pain is inevitable. Crap happens, so to speak. Bad things occur. And we can work with the second arrow, which only serves to increase our level of suffering. And I see this a lot in the clients that I coach, the human beings that I coach who happen to be physicians and physician leaders. So One example of this is around physician burnout. This is a real problem that we have. It's an epidemic that was going on before the COVID pandemic and has really gotten worse given the incredible stresses and difficulties that physicians have had to face, everyone in healthcare. But I'm focusing today as I talk with you about the clients that I coach, physicians. So, burnout is really painful. It can feel like an erosion of the soul. It can strip one of the sense of purpose and meaning and leave you really exhausted physically and emotionally. So let's call that kind of the first arrow. But the second arrow is the mental overlay. Oh no, I'm struggling with burnout. How am I going to manage? What if this gets worse? What if I can't keep going to work? How will I maintain my livelihood? How will I take care of the people around me? Oh no, oh no, oh no. Again, a place that all of our minds can go to, perfectly normal. And yet, we can apply mindful awareness to get to know these second arrow thoughts so that we can work with them and not experience unnecessary suffering. There's enough necessary suffering in a sense, there's enough difficulty. COVID alone, so many difficulties of every possible sort, obviously not just for physicians, but where the mind takes us. The fears, the worries, the ruminations, the preoccupations, those are examples of the second arrow. So, how do we manage that? How do we manage that with mindful awareness? We get to know what's going on in our minds. That's what mindfulness is all about. It's the awareness that emerges when we pay attention. And what are we paying attention to? Well, the major thing we're paying attention to is what's going on in our own minds, because our thoughts can take us down such dark alleys. And I was thinking about this today when I was out walking my dog, Miss Sydney. And we passed another dog, and all of a sudden there was like a little kerfuffle. They're both of them, their hackles raised, and there was that moment of kind of you know, barking and growling and uh-oh, what's going to happen next? Well, probably within about 30 seconds, we moved on and the dog was perfectly fine. And I'm sure the other dog was perfectly fine, probably in less than 30 seconds, because the dog can have that initial situation, that initial activation of their nervous system, but they're not bogged down with all those second arrows that leave us ruminating, preoccupied, up during the night, replaying something, worrying, right? Strategizing. Second arrows, ping, 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 ping. So the real takeaway is to take the time for mindful awareness, to pause in a situation and notice what's going on for me. Where is my mind going? Is this the first arrow? Is this the painful event, the stresses in healthcare, for example? Or is this actually the story that my mind has gotten going on? Because that's where we have a lot of control, isn't it? That's where we can get to know the storyline and we can question it. We can think to ourselves, what's going on in my mind right now? And how is it serving me? Are these thoughts helping me? Or are these thoughts causing more suffering? That's where we have the freedom. That's where we have the agency. That's where we actually can take control. We can have the true autonomy over ourselves, the only thing we have any hope of controlling in our world, right? We can take that agency and we can decide, okay, I'm going to give that thought a lot of attention. That's a choice. I'm going to go that route and perhaps increase my suffering. Or I'm going to let that thought go by, just the way the clouds go by in the sky. I don't have to follow that thought. I have that choice. I have that agency. I have that autonomy over my own mind. So that's the takeaway. And that's what I want to leave you with. I want to encourage you to meditate. If you're new to meditation, to try it out. If you've been meditating off and on, to continue. And if you have a sustained meditation practice, to continue this pattern of noticing, what is it that's going on in my mind? And can I pause things, slow them down, and watch that thought just go by like a cloud in the sky? That's the choice that I have. That's the muscle that each and every one of us can build. Pain is inevitable, and yet suffering is optional. So I hope this can be helpful to you. It takes time, it takes a lot of repetition. Our minds are used to creating these thoughts and stories, and we follow them. We never really, most of us don't typically learn to pause and to work with our thoughts in a more resourceful way. And yet we can. We really can. So thank you so much for your time today. I know you're busy and I really appreciate your listening. And until next time, I wish you many, many moments of clarity and calm.